Okay, so this is our first live. Plan is to talk mostly about email marketing, copywriting, storytelling, use of AI in marketing as well. And also the plan is potentially bring in other guests as time goes on, but Bradley and I will be the typical hosts. This is kind of like a podcast kind of idea, and we're just kind of testing out the theory here. This is obviously our first one, so we'll likely introduce ourselves, and that way we can point people to this. And yeah, man. So you want to introduce yourself first, Bradley?
Yeah, so I'm Bradley, email marketing strategist, email marketing strategist, retention strategist, copywriter, a bunch of different titles that are, fairly,
Yeah.
covering a bunch of different things. But I've been doing this since mid 2018, I think. So it's been like 7.5, 8 years, something like that. And then like basically every kind of copywriting under the sun, every kind of almost every niche, every type of copy, these kinds of things. But the last few years has been mostly email, and then also some larger, just digital marketing strategy in general. So, and also obviously with the advent of LLMs and AI and whatnot, like ChatGPT, been making my foray into that as well, and experimenting with those tools and seeing what they can do to make me more productive. So that's a little bit about me professionally, what I've done. So, oh, and also last year I launched not one, not two, but three digital products.
Nice.
So that's a more recent addition to my business, and I'm working obviously as an email marketer myself, growing my own email list. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And yeah, go ahead, Pete.
So what were you doing before you got into this crazy world of internet marketing?
Good point. I should probably talk about that. So I was very briefly an accountant, believe it or not. I have a
Okay.
degree in the field, so in accounting. So I was that for like 8 or 9 months, and then I had to make this work. This was a side hustle, basically 2 weeks after I landed my first like adult job, so to speak, like right out of college with my degree. Was like, entry level salary, barely paid the bills in a 3-person house that I rented with two friends. So I had to make this work once I left that. So yeah, I was an accountant briefly before that. And in, it sounds completely opposite, but at least it does help with understanding the numbers in a business. Helps with
Yeah.
self-employment in general, understanding your taxes and your own bookkeeping and being able to, I don't know, like if you don't understand these things, you feel kind of lost because you don't get a lot of guidance like from school or anything else with how
No.
to, manage your own finances, let alone like manage like a small like business or self-employment style kind of finances. So having that has been extremely helpful. Actually, I don't have to like um feel lost when I'm like, I have an accountant now, but like I don't feel lost when it comes to like taxes and stuff. So it's a bit of a unique background, obviously, but I think it actually is more relevant to marketing than some may think. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Yeah, also what a lot of people don't realize is making money is actually the easy part. Um the keeping it,
Yeah.
growing it, and delegating all your resources effectively, that way you can actually scale and all that is like the hard, more important parts, right? Because like, yeah, okay, money coming in is cool, but now what, right? There's a lot of internet marketers we've probably heard of that when we first started, they were flourishing, and now you don't even hear their name anymore because they basically burned their businesses to the ground, not knowing what they were doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Again, a little bit going back to the accounting background. You have money coming in, but then like being, self-employed is not just, working for yourself, having clients, having your own business is not just like, okay, I'm making money. Cool. I'm just going to sit here and make money. It's, like, you have to become good at without, it sounds a bit fancy, but like capital allocation, which basically just means you have money. What do you do with that money to make more money? To make
Yeah.
yourself as financially stable as possible and grow your business and everything. So you quickly learn that it is more than just, making money from some clients. You do have to know what to do with that money. And obviously, and this goes for a lot of businesses, obviously, but you want to save some of it, obviously, so you have a cushion, but reinvest it so that you are growing software, coaches, courses. Not, you don't want to buy every course under the sun, but
No,
specific ones that address
tried
certain,
that already.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people, you buy like a bunch at the beginning and it's like you only really needed one. But there's specific courses out there that may teach certain skills that you're lacking or you want to improve on because there's a lot obviously to being like a being self-employed and being a solopreneur, so to speak. So, yeah.
Yeah. When you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a service provider of any sort, you almost have to suffer from multi-personality syndrome because you got to be like the person who's the closer, brings in the clients. You got to be the boss. And then you also got to be like the executor too, right? And those are all different skills, right? And that's actually something I personally suffered from when I first started because I was a mechanic for years, right? First. So it was just, for me, it was just, hey, I needed to make money. And then once I got it, I learned what to do with it properly afterwards. I was just like, oh crap, what do I do? But yeah, I'll segue that into my story because I think you're good, right?
Yeah. Go
All
ahead.
right. All right. So my name's Pete. For anybody who doesn't know me yet, I was originally a mechanic for 20 plus years. Um, Won awards, was a dealer mechanic, helped design shops, ran several of my own shops for a little while as well. And then this little thing happened in 2020 called COVID. And I live in Canada. And for anybody who doesn't know, Canada went in more lockdowns than I can count. And uh, as a mechanic, especially working at a dealership, that sucked because what a lot of people don't realize is mechanics, especially at dealerships, some small shops as well, but they get paid by the job, not by the hour. So such and such job pays such and such time. Let's say a job pays 2 hours. If I do it in 20 minutes, I get paid 2 hours. But if I take 4 hours, I still only get paid the 2 hours, right? So you learn how to be effective and you also learn how to upsell too, right? So if you've ever brought your car to a mechanic and you're wondering, I came in for an oil change, why am I getting a $3,000 bill? That's why. But the issue with COVID was even though mechanics were allowed to still go to work because we were considered a needed service, because everybody else wasn't working, I got to watch a very lucrative 6-figure income practically disappear in 2 weeks. So I went from paying my mortgage, pricing out a new boat, saving money for my daughter's university fund to how am I going to cover the mortgages this month? Because like pretty much the whole economy stopped. None of us were making income and I was going to work basically for free because if work's not coming in, you're not getting paid. So I couldn't just necessarily having a family to support, house to pay for and all that to retrain myself. I was like, what can I do on the side in the meantime to try to make enough money, right? That got me into print on demand. I was doing that for a little while, made a little bit of money, realized that it was just a lot of work up front to make very little. And although the effects are compounding over time, I wasn't necessarily patient enough then. So I got into Amazon and drop shipping and doing Amazon FBA. And at that time, by the time I got into that, the lockdowns kind of stopped. So I was running an Amazon business while also working full time as a mechanic. And then I came across this book. I forget what it's called, but it was by a guy who was making millions on Amazon like years ago. And the way he was doing that was he was effectively writing email copy for clients on the side and then taking that money and then investing it into his Amazon business to make enough money all while working a full-time job too. So I was like, hey, I'm going to give this a try, right? I didn't realize how hard that was going to be. And I eventually burnt myself out and had a heart attack at 37. And I wasn't able to work for about, I think it was about 2.5, 3 months. And the shitty part was the dealership I was working at that time, I only had been working there for about 2.5, 3 months. So I was not allowed to collect any benefits for the time off. And because it happened at work, technically WSIB, which is our version of workman's compensation, wouldn't cover me because even though it happened at work, it's not a workplace incident. So pretty much the way the employer said it was until I got clearance from a doctor, I wasn't allowed to work. So I was pretty much told you can't go to work until you get clearance from a doctor to go. But because doctors were still backlogged from everything going on COVID, they postponed all my tests. So I had to find a way to make money. So at that time, I had this Amazon business that I effectively had to burn to the ground. And yeah, I had to basically make this email marketing copywriting thing work, and I've been doing it pretty much since then. And that was beginning 2023. So that's been 3 years ago. And I was doing the whole online marketing and businesses and stuff like 2 years before that. So it's been about 5 years now. And then
Yeah.
now I'm here.
That's pretty cool. So you actually have some of the like actual like business running experience. You didn't just like I jumped straight from a job into this, although I did briefly have a niche site, like and I did sell one course once, but it was refunded. I was still in college. I was a senior in
Okay.
college and I haven't. So I did make one sale online when I was still in college before, but you actually have what run technically like two businesses before even getting into this. So you kind of already had the not just the skills of running a business, but kind of a bit of the mindset to
Yeah.
of like what a business owner is looking for if you are going to try to sell them on your copywriting services. So that's kind of a
Yeah. And that's,
helpful
yeah.
background.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I usually get hired on as a copywriter or email list manager, and then eventually what I become is a business therapist because it's like you look at it holistically, right? Because you come in, you're like, okay, yeah, I can help you write the copy and all that, but like a lot of times, especially when somebody's hiring you as a copywriter and they've already tried doing the copy themselves, sometimes they just assume that copy is going to just like this magic wand that you put in front of an offer and now it's selling, right? And 90% of the time it's not the case. Usually the offer sucks or they didn't validate it or they're targeting the wrong audience. Like they're in the right niche and they're targeting the right avatar, but the positioning's off or something like that, right? I'm sure you've experienced that too, right? So especially with the amount of e-com stuff you do. Um yeah, so that's pretty much the way I go into it because even when I was a mechanic for years, I ran my own shops, right? Like I had my own shop for about a year and a half before I decided I can make more money at a dealership and just have less stress. And then even when I was at the dealerships, I excelled at that and got promoted into like a shop foreman type role. And then the expectation is even though was still on flat rate is the pay structure, what it's called, getting paid by the job. I was still delegating the work, uh, taking care of the apprentices, training everybody, and I was still making the most hours in the shop and producing. So like I have that point of view, the way I look at things. So that's kind of where my love hate relationship with copywriting is. Cause like it's like, yeah, cool. I landed a gig, right? When you get a new one and you're like with the client and you're doing your like onboarding and sometimes the answers you get are just, oh my God. I think it was a client from about 2 or 3 months ago. And I'm sure you've experienced this too, right? It's like, okay, cool. Let's take on this project. Here's my onboarding. This is how we're going to do it. What's the goal here? And I actually had a client say, I just want an ROI on my money. I'm like, okay. It's like, don't we all? But like, how do we measure that? Right. So, yeah, man. In saying all that, what are you finding in email marketing right now?
Well, and this is a hot topic in a lot of things, but I'm going to say AI and personalization in particular. So
Yeah.
there are tools now that can be used to almost like copywriters almost become copy engineers in a sense, where there are tools where you can kind of like how a programmer writes code and it causes an app or a software application to do something in a way. You write, you like you have kind of like a strategist brain and you kind of understand the customer and you write what you want the software to produce almost and it'll produce different copy headlines, or subject lines, headlines, body copy, these kinds of things based on who the audience is. So there are tools, there are a few, I don't know if there's maybe there's just one tool, there's probably multiple tools like that right now, but they're allowing you to get a lot more personalized with like obviously like you're a brand that may be targeting some particular aged, men who are some age who have some problem. But even within like that, men within that age range with that problem, there are like sub niches or sub
Yeah.
avatars, so to speak. And these tools make it so you can get even more granular, because there are some emails you'll send that'll appeal to some segment of that audience but won't to others. And so with these personalization tools, you can now have a single, like, say, like an email sequence that will change the copy or subject line depending on like the data that's attached to that person. So the messaging, essentially, in short, it lets you get a lot more granular, so the messaging can be more tailored to that person. And so those are some interesting tools that I'm seeing right now. They're very nice because, a little inside baseball, when I'm like building, say, a post purchase sequence for a client, and it'll be, we want to, like, there's one where I want to do 4 different categories. We had a post purchase sequence, depending on which category they bought from, they got like a slightly different post purchase set of post purchase emails, little bit of language tweaks. The products that we would then cross sell them on would be different, like from a different category. But I had to like build the flow once, write it all, and then like go in and manually like clone it 3 more times and like change the copy around and change the
Yeah.
product URLs. And like, that's not super hard at a basic level, but it is kind of a pain. And when you scale that up to like businesses that have like multiple categories, multiple products,
Yeah.
potentially multiple audiences, it becomes like a huge hassle if you don't have one of these tools. So I can see these tools basically making like it personalization becomes a lot easier. Like, tailoring the copy and the language, the messaging to specific people becomes a lot easier because you don't have to spend like an inordinate amount of time like creating the same, say, sequence or the same campaign like 50 times to address like 50 different like sub audiences, if that makes sense. So, um, that one that one's kind of an interesting one to watch, an interesting thing to watch just in copywriting and marketing, online marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about tools like Right Message, right?
That's the one I have in mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because the cool thing with that is you could set it up so that there's like a questionnaire slash survey right when people
Yeah.
opt in your list. And then it's not even the email sequences. You could set it up so that even the landing pages and sales pages you're sending people to within those segments are also customized. So then it's not just the benefits that are appealing to them through the emails, because that's not as effective if you're just sending everybody to the same sales page too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what it allows you to do is like, hey, these people, we know these people are at this part of the buyer's journey or customer's journey, whatever you want to call it. And like, we know they're like at this awareness stage or they're at this pain point, like, like, especially in the supplement industry, right? Like you and I are both into health and fitness, right?
Mhm.
Like we probably both take a lot of the same supplements, but we like, how old are you, for example, right now, right?
29.
Okay, I just turned 40, right? The supplements I take are probably a lot of the same that you take, but I probably take them for a different reason at my age than you're
Yeah.
taking them at yours, right?
Mhm.
And even though it's the same supplement, right? The benefits that I am looking for are a little bit different than you yourself, and that's kind of what this magical tool right now allows you to do is that, hey, you're going to take collagen peptides because it's going to help you rebuild your muscle and you're going to recover faster. And meanwhile, I just don't want my knees to feel like sandpaper when I get the frick out of bed first thing in the morning and feel
Yeah.
everything crunch, right? So it's like, hey, are you tired of sandpaper joints? For a
Yeah.
guy like me, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I can move again without like hearing snap, crackle, pop every time I like bend over, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a guy like you, it's like, hey, are you tired of always being sore by the time you get back to the gym? Like you go to do that next set of squats, but your hammies are still a little sore. This helps prevent that. Same exact supplement works in the body the exact same way, but because your segments react to things differently. And that's what this allows you to do
Yep.
from what I understand, right? And then because you can also cater the product pages and the sales pages, that's the most interesting thing. But like you said, you're engineering now because from what I understand, rather than just writing the copy just beginning to end, what you're actually doing is you're building frameworks instead, saying like, hey, this is our benefit section. Here's the segue portion. Like effectively you can use the same stories too, but like the offer section and all that objection handling is going to be a little bit different, I imagine, right? Is that how you're using it?
Well, I haven't used it like personally too much yet. I'm just
Okay.
getting it, but I've seen their webinar and all that stuff, and I'm not, this is not
Yeah.
this is a this is not a
Yeah. Yeah.
VSL
Yeah.
or right message, but from what I understand, it's something like that. You still like, I think you still like review the copy that it generates, obviously. Like you need to
Yeah.
you can't just trust the AI tool to like generate, like you still like it might be pretty good at generating it, but you still need the human eyes who that have the expertise to go, yeah, this looks good, or maybe we need to, tweak the prompt a little bit differently, or tweak like the framework you're programming it with or whatever, so that the copy it produces is a little more tailored. And obviously you're still needed to, you know, design like the surveys or the quizzes or whatever that gather that data. You do need to know who your customer audiences are kind of in the first place, and then know how
Yeah.
to design questions that actually and gather the right information, ask questions the right way to gather the right information so that you can accurately target those people as well. So the copy almost becomes like you still have to understand the basics of good copy. You have to
Yeah.
know like,
100%.
will this messaging just work in general, but you kind of have to evolve more to like you're thinking about all the other aspects, and it kind of makes the copy. I mean, the copy has always been just like a piece of the whole funnel, but it really puts that into perspective. It's just one little piece that fits in there, but you really have to understand. You really have to have like the offer audience kind of match, and you have to know who your audience and who your sub audiences are, kind of. So that's how it's kind of affecting things.
Yeah, I agree. The the only problem, like when I heard about this, I was like, oh fuck, like this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be game changing, and effectively it will. And in all reality, too, I would say it makes people like you and I who understand copy that much more effective, and also more important too, right? Especially for larger businesses, for like the little tiny business making six figures online right now. I think this would help them too, but I think it's more bigger for people doing at least seven figures, right? Because then you probably get more better measurable results, right? Because traffic's the biggest thing. But the one problem I'm kind of figuring with it is when I subscribe to certain email lists, I do use burner accounts sometimes, and on certain email lists, I'm technically a 47-year-old overweight woman. So, um, so if I'm signing up to a list and I'm answering that questionnaire, that copy is for sure not going to work on me anymore, right? Because I'm going to answer those questions like an asshole. So I think at this point in time, because it's like the gold rush part of it, it's like, okay, people aren't sophisticated on this, right? Because they're like the average person's not going to know. Okay, I answered these questions, and magically the answers I gave are going to magically appear in the copy I'm going to see 7 days from now, right? Because that's the whole idea here is you want to mirror people's language they use to describe their own problems, right? Because that becomes more persuasive, but also like you just want to get them going, right? And I think as people become more sophisticated, I think it'll become less effective. But I think right now it's gonna be a big thing, right? Because then there's also like the whole Apple iOS things that everybody was talking about years ago and how it affected privacy, right? But I don't know. Assuming people are given the right answers too, right? Because that's the other thing is sometimes people don't know what they want either, right? Like how many times do you send out a survey and you're like, hey guys, like what are you buying right now? And people are like, oh yeah, we're into this offer. And then you like pitch an offer to a list or whatever that you're writing for and it bombs and you're just like, what the hell? But then you will look at what people are actually buying and those sometimes two totally different things, right? So I think understanding that aspect, like reading into it. And that's kind of like what you said too there with the copy, right? You're like, okay, if people give these answers, this is the copy that's going to work. And understanding that just because people said this doesn't mean the copy has to effectively say that. Because like, what you want to do is like the saying goes in sales, like you sell people what they want, you give them what they need, and that's effectively what you need to know how to do. And I don't think a lot of people know how to do that. And I think that would be the biggest differentiator with using a tool like Right Message, right?
Yeah, so it kind of comes back to when it comes to like an LLM or like a software tool like that, it's like any other tool. It's like if you know it, well, for one, if you know again the fundamentals of just good marketing and good copy,
Yeah.
knowing your audience, having an offer that they would want, and knowing how to like speak to them, but just knowing how to like use the tool properly would, and also on the aspect of like people like not get like they're giving certain information and then the messaging ends up not matching that information, because I think that'll be something that evolves, like how to like craft how to ask the questions correctly to get the right information. Or if someone,
Yeah.
if you're like collecting a bunch of data and so you're presenting messaging based on that data but it's not working, there's probably going to be, as it is with like new things like this, just like I can't think of the word, like this kind of software specific like best practices. I don't really like that term, but you know what I mean, for
Yeah.
lack
Yeah.
of a better phrase, that evolve so that people know how to deal with those problems. Basically, it's like it's a relatively new kind of tool. It's a relatively new kind of thing. So it is kind of like in the early adopter-ish kind of phase, and people are going to like figure things out. And people are going to like you know find the mistakes and find the pitfalls. Um, as as always happens usually with these new kinds of tools. So
Yeah.
I mean, right now I do know that like tools like that, they're working pretty well. So I know that
Yeah.
like there's definitely a lot of potential with using AI, like personalization in email marketing and sales copy in general, things like that. But like, yeah, you still have to know how to use the tool properly. Still have to know how to ask the right questions. Still have to know like you still have to know how to write copy so that you can evaluate the copy and go, yes, this is good. This does not sound like AI slop at all, which by definition, by you reviewing it, makes it kind of you writing it. You've reviewed it, you've gone over it, you've applied your own human knowledge and expertise to it and go, yes, this does sound good, or no, this sounds like crap. We need to change this, that, and the next thing. So I mean, yeah, that's how it works with a lot of lots of new tools and software.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, that's the other thing I don't think a lot of people realize with AI copy is just because it sounds good doesn't mean it'll work either, right? Because I don't know, I well, this the last few weeks have been kind of rough, personal life wise, so I haven't really been sending many daily emails to my daily email list. But sometimes I will sit there and I will scrutinize my writing, and the email, my daily email, will take me like half hour, 40 minutes, and I'll send it, and it's bombs, right? Like it's like, okay, no replies, clicks were kind of low, didn't make any sales. Okay, whatever. And then like the next day, I like sleep in by accident because normally I write my daily email first thing. Like I wake up, have a drink of water, sit down at my desk, and just start writing because I got two little boys that if they wake up, nothing's getting done. Right. So I'm up at like 5 o'clock, and then I schedule my email for 7:45. So I try to beat them to waking up. Um, but if I sleep in through my alarms or something like that, and I look at the time and it's 6:30, and I'm like, oh shit, I will sit down at the laptop and literally pump out an email in like 10 minutes. It'll be riddled with grammatical and spelling errors. And I don't even read it, edit it, nothing. And like half the time I almost forget to put the link in it. But luckily I use Berserker Mail where it'll tell you forgot to put a link, you dummy. And I'm like, oh yeah, shit. And then I'm like, okay, there we go. We're good. I schedule it. And then like a few hours later I look and I got like 7 replies. I made a few sales and I'm like, really? Like the email I spent no time on whatsoever. Right. And it was like awful. Like I reread it later. I'm like, holy shit. Like I'm,
You
I,
you have a filter on, so you're just
yeah,
batching
it's just
a batch the
like,
keyword and getting out, and you're not like thinking, getting in your head too much about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Grammarly screaming at me, and I'm not paying attention. Right? It's like, oh, I'm
Yep.
making so many mistakes. But yeah, it's yeah, it's and also that's the other thing too is that a lot of people don't realize is just because time and quality do not correlate. Right? Like just because you spent more time creating something doesn't mean it's going to perform better either. Um, and that's kind of where I was trying to go there. But yeah, I forget where my train of thought, my ADHD is kicking right now. But yeah.
I mean, kind of like, I mean, you're still like, you don't even have to use AI sometimes to, you don't have to use AI to bang out an email in 10 minutes. But um,
Yeah.
on the topic of those tools, I said something earlier about like, it might be useful for small businesses. It is still like these tools are still like the pricing, they're kind of expensive, relatively speaking, like not super expensive, but I mean,
The good ones.
fairly advanced like tools. So it's kind of like a thing with like any tech too. It's like the companies that make a bazillion dollars that have giant, like they'll adopt it more often first. And then as it becomes easier to make those tools, then I think it'll like filter down to it. Like, I don't, I mean, some people who are like solo, like, Chris Orzakowski, he has like a zillion products and I don't know, but he's not really a solopreneur anymore, but like he has his own email list and he makes a ton of money from his email list and he uses Right Message for his own email list. And but he's not like a big enterprise level company or whatever. But
No.
that's kind of like an edge case. A lot of it is going to be probably really big companies who have like if you're a small business and you, or if you're a solopreneur and you only have your email, like it's almost majoring in the minors to do that. Like at that point, you want to grow your list more and actually have get offers in front of people who want to buy them. And the most AI you're using at that point is perhaps like ChatGPT or Grok or whatever LLM you use to refine the copy or whatever. But like you don't need to get there until you're at the stage where you're making tons and tons of money and you have a giant list, and then the hidden money is in the hyper segmentation with those AI
Yeah.
tools. And that hyper segmentation, like I said, if you try to do that without those AI tools, it becomes you build like these really mammoth, like gigantic email sequences that have like 80 different branches. And it's, if something breaks, then the whole thing like collapses. So that's where those tools come in. But like as these tools become like more accessible, like I don't know, if someone's able to make like a cheaper version or something, then it'll filter down to like people who don't have giant email lists with lots of products and lots of audiences or lots of like sub audiences. So, um, yeah, I mean, like I think Right Message, I can't remember. I think it's for like 10,000 people. It's like a couple hundred a month. So like, you got to be making
Yeah.
a lot.
You
You
got
got
to
to be making
make
a
it.
lot of money already, a lot of revenue already for that to kind of make sense. Or otherwise, you have to have the list size too. Basically, like if you don't have a lot of people, then you're not getting a lot extra out of that several hundred a month investment. So
Yeah, and it's no different than any tool. Like for example, like we're talking about AI. AI is just an amplifier of what you already have, right? Like for example, if you're already a good copywriter, it's just going to allow you to create more good copy faster. But if you didn't know anything about copywriting, then that's where you get the people who just copy paste outputs because they're like, oh, this sounds good, cool. Um, and I think right message will be a little bit of that too. It's just like, okay, yeah, you're making $1 million a year. Let's do and it can be like, I don't know, 10-15% lift. And you're making an extra $150,000. Like, yeah, it's worth it. Um, but like for somebody making six figures, yeah, it would be nice to make an extra $15,000 a year, but it's probably going to cost you at
yeah,
least a couple $1,000s just for the software. And then you're probably not going to be able to do it yourself. You're going to have to hire an agency like Chris Orzakowski, for example, or his agency or somebody like us. And then it's going to cost you almost what you're going to make back. Pointless, right? Like you said, majoring the minors. It's like product market fit's big. And I think when Chris first started getting in the space, which was towards the end of last year, I think he said something along the lines of like, unless you're making seven figures, this is probably not worth your time yet.
exactly.
Get up to that point, right? Because I think one of their primary case studies is Justin Welch, right? Like he did
Yeah.
I think he was one of the first people to use this actually. And I think his one promo, they estimated that he made an extra 60% because of it. I don't know how you would measure that because if you're launching something new, you're just going off your projections, right? Not necessarily what's happened in the past. And that's kind of the problem with a lot of marketing. It's like, oh yeah, we got this percentage of a lift. And it's like, yeah, but everything's new. How compared to what? Um, but yeah, I think it's great, but you need to get up to that point first, right?
Yeah. It's just lever. It's like anything else. It's like if you are a solopreneur, you don't even think about really starting like an agency. Like if you want to keep growing and growing and have like some people just want like the laptop lifestyle where they're like have enough clients to like live comfortably and just kind of work on their schedule. Some people are more like I want to build like an empire kind of thing. And but you don't hire your first like copywriter under you until you can't take until like you're charging clients a crap ton and you're still having them banging down your door. Like that's
Yeah.
when that's when you start hiring. It's like me. I have a virtual assistant who does a bunch of stuff for me, and it's fantastic. I never have to touch WordPress again. But I didn't get there until like I had like I have like there's leverage there. Like it didn't make sense to hire her if I couldn't use that time more valuably
Yeah.
elsewhere, like on other, I don't know, launching a product or closing another big client or two, like it just didn't make sense. And it's not like I pay like $1 zillion for my assist. It's a virtual assistant, it's not like a
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
else.
Completely. Yeah.
But it didn't make sense. Like there wasn't the value to justify hiring her because I couldn't go get extra money to make on top. It's just, it's just delegation basically. Same with a tool like that, if you have a smaller list, you're probably not, at the revenue level anyways to be getting something like one of these advanced AI personalization tools. So, once you grow to a certain size, just like with any other delegation or hiring or software that handles something for you, it's all about just ROI really, and can you get more value by paying for that and using that extra time elsewhere, basically.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure if you heard of this recently, but um, I guess Google's starting to push Gemini into the inbox too, right? Where it helps
Oh yeah.
summarize people's emails and stuff like that. You seen that?
It does that in one of my Gmails doesn't do that. I have like 7 Gmails and not all of them are burner accounts. Like they're just ones I've created over the years, but I do use one as like a get on other people's list burner account. But like a few of those don't do it, but then my business email
Yeah,
does
mine does too. Yeah,
and
Google Workspace.
yeah, and that's interesting too because I thought about like how that could impact like how you write the copy because now you have to think about how the AI will read your copy and summarize it for you. I've seen it summarize like I get my own emails obviously in my business email, actually business and personal email, so I can have kind of two different views because they sometimes act a little weird. In my business email, I've seen it like summarize something incorrectly in my email before, and
Mhm.
I thought it summarized it incorrectly, but I have to like now potentially consider the fact that I have to like figure out like what's going on with this, and like maybe adjust my writing in a way to where if someone wants the AI summary, it's like it's not just going to have them not only not give them incorrect information, but have them like see it all and click away before you know they get to the
Yeah,
bottom of the email. Like you have to kind of write for an AI intermediary almost as well as the final actual person who wants to read the email.
yeah, which kind of goes into how to do SEO too now, right? Because rather than people going Google search and you're writing for keywords so that it comes up, you have to I forget what it's called AEO. It's like AI search or a whatever the acronym they've decided to come up with recently. But like
Engine
you write,
optimization.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So now you're gonna write your articles in a way that it ranks in ChatGPT and Claude AI or any of the other AIs, right? Because now the world's shifted in that way. So yeah, the email is that way too. Except, um, I think the only way you can get your emails to get summarized properly is if you write them in a very formulaic way, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think the more non-formulaic it is, like a lot of my stuff is, it's a r- very random thoughts and just stupid shit half the time. Um, and then I just correlate to something. Um, I think those kinds of emails will just the summary will not make sense, and I'm not sure if people reading the summary, if it doesn't make sense, would cause them to read on, or if it would cause them to click away. But then I guess that also goes to the better you are at building the relationship with your list, the less likely they're going to be looking at the summary, anyways, right? Like, are you sharing interesting facts? Are you writing in a way that people actually want to read your emails? And I think it's going to be the death of the curated newsletters, right? Because it's like, okay, like if my AI summary engine in my emails are just giving me all the information, like why am I even opening these emails anymore? Whereas if you're sending something that's it can't necessarily be summarized, at least in 3 to 5 bullet points, it gives people an actual reason to stop and look at it, right?
I was gonna say there is nuance there because if people like, I still like going back to Chris Zakowski. I've been on his list forever, and I don't know if I think it's like in my business inbox again. It summarizes email, so I'll just skip right past the summary. I don't even like. Sometimes I forget it's there because I actually want to read his email. Like even though I own everything he's ever sold, most of it because I bought it, but at this point he'll just like he'll make me an affiliate or whatever because him and I are friends now. But I still read like 75% of the emails he sends because I just love his emails so much. Like there's always something funny or entertaining or genuinely educational in there, 100% free, and I'll still learn maybe something I can apply to my business. And if you have that kind of relationship with your list already, so people who already have lists that they have relationships with probably won't have to worry too much. There might
Yeah.
be like some percentage of people who like just
Yeah.
reads the summary, but like if people have been getting your emails for years and they love reading them, like with me with Chris Roskowski's list, like the summary thing won't be a big deal, which makes me think that the establishing the relationship before they get on your email list will be more important. Like if you're say buying traffic or you're buying customers with
Yeah.
Facebook ads or something, and if the summaries become a thing, well, that person only knows you through an ad. They've known you for I don't know, like a day. If they've seen your ads a few times, they've known you kind of barely for like a day or whatever short amount of time it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get to a point where AI summary becomes a lot more normal, like they're just gonna blow right past it. So if you, in a weird way, it might make like content marketing more relevant, content
Oh,
for
yeah.
social media or things like that. Because if you build a relationship off of your email list first, where there's not like as there, I don't know, maybe on Twitter or Substack or something. I don't know if there's like a way to implement some sort of AI summary feature within the platform, but you build that relationship on the platform or outside of your email list first, and then they hop on your list. If they start seeing the email summary, well, they already like what you're writing off the platform, so they probably will want to read stuff in the email. So, I mean, it might actually make email still going to be important, but it might actually make things before email a little more important, like um, content marketing and SEO or like social media or like I guess you could say like the free channels. It might have a negative impact on paid channels like
I
Facebook
think
ads
so.
or things like that. People who don't have any like prior established relationship with you before they get on your list. Or even if people like come in through a Facebook ad and they buy and that's how they get on your email list. Like even if they like the product a lot, they don't know much about you besides that they bought your product and it does well. Like they might like you more and trust you more, but like they don't have much of a feel for like your emails and like how like just like your brand voice and these kinds of things. So yeah, I think content and social media and other like free channels might actually become more important to for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what it's also going to do is basically doing like what we're doing here becomes that much more important. Like also proving that you're a real person. And like you're probably gonna have to go a little bit more omni-channel as well, and email is going to become a little bit less reliable metric wise too, because I'm not sure the effect of AI summaries on open rates, right? Because if your personal AI in your inbox is what's actually going in there and opening the email and summarizing it, our open rate's going to go near 100%,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because now you're tracking pixels useless. Like, don't get me wrong, opens have always been a little bit of a soft metric, anyways, and even clicks have recently not been as reliable either, because then you have the bot clicks, right? Which are easy enough to figure out. A lot of people are like, "Oh, wow, my click through is high." It's like, "Oh, what is that?" And they're like, "Oh, 5%." I was like, "Bullshit." I was like, I was like, "Look at your send time and then look at your click time." And they're like, "Okay, yeah, I send at 8 o'clock a.m." And I was like, "And how many click-throughs happened at 8:01?" And they're like, "Oh, like 3% of it." I was like, "So your actual click-through is 2%, because the first 3% is clicking the moment the email lands to make sure that you're not doing spam behavior, because that's like inbox security features, and a lot of people don't realize that, right? And a lot of people, what they were doing, and I'm sure you've seen this too, is they'll run a promo to their list, and they're like, after the initial emails of the promo, they send something along the lines of, "Hey, if you're not interested in this promo, click on this link here and you'll be unsubscribed from this segment." If a software clicks that for the person, they're no longer getting your emails, but they were potentially interested. So that's not necessarily a good idea. Which I guess then goes back to like what we were talking about originally with the right message and segmentation properly, because now it becomes that much more important, because then your actual metrics that were already soft to begin with are going to become a little bit more reliable, because now you're bypassing security features and shit like that. Sorry, I just made that correlation, but yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, Yeah. And it's very there's a lot of AI stuff happening at once. So um,
Yeah, you can't keep on top of it all. It's insane.
yeah, I mean, there's like agents and bots, and like I tried building my own bots at one point briefly, and I was like, this seems like too much work. Like when I use ChatGPT to just like as an assistant, where I just like, and now I don't even type much into it anymore. I just voice chat into it, and it's even though I do a lot of ums and uhs, and I'll say my own filler. Like I try obviously like on something live like this, I try to avoid doing ums and uhs, but with ChatGPT, I just let it fly and it's able to parse right through all of that and just understand exactly what I said and give me a response. So oftentimes, even if I'm like trying to refine like I just finished like a fairly long guide to something for a client, and I instead of like I would like voice chat like what I want, or like text to or what is it, a speech to text, or voice to text what I want
Yeah.
instead of typing, because I just it's like having to click over and then start typing and then click, and like it's a lot easier to just like click the little microphone button and just start just verbalizing basically, and it's kind of carried over into other things like in Slack or other things when I'm communicating with people, even over text. As you know, I do voice messages sometimes now because it's just
Yeah.
easier.
Oh,
So,
sure.
but being able to just like say thing to the AI and AI say thing back, like without having to like type it out is very convenient, and I do that a lot now. So, but yeah, I mean, back to the main point is I don't really go beyond just like using Chat GPT. So sometimes I'll use Grok because Grok is much better at understanding like things that are going on in real life and like current events or whatever. So sometimes I'll use Grok for that, and it can just like, and it pulls from like all of Twitter or whatever, or X, whatever. But ChatGPT, I'm so used to that now because that's like the first one I use that like, and it just the interface and everything feels a lot more comfortable to me because I'm used to it, and I have a ton of stuff in there. It's like I just kind of like either speak to it or sometimes type into it as an assistant, kind of treat it as like a little assistant type of thing, and it'll help me with all kinds of business and personal things. Like today, I was like asking about like finding a new accountant or something like that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure like estimate like I have an accountant financial advisor combo right now. I'm paying too much for them. I want to leave them at like how much does it cost to just have these specific like tax prep things done or whatever. And it's like I don't, I could use Google. I've tried to use Google for that before, and it was really tough. With ChatGPT, it can just like, it just like it much more helpful for that. Like, and that's kind of a business thing, but it's kind of a personal thing too, because it's personal finances as well. So I don't use like bots or agents or anything yet. And there's probably use cases for those. Like I know that people like building those bots and whatnot, but like just personally, I tried to do that. And I'm like, I just, it kind of made me like, it's like one of those things where it's like you just don't want to do it. Like it's like that one thing you don't want to do. Whereas with ChatGPT and just like going back and forth with it, it's like I find that just a lot easier. So,
Yeah. It's a feedback loop, right?
yeah, yeah. But I guess teach them. Some people like building the bots and getting into that. I'm a little more of just a I'm a little bit more old school AI user here.
Yeah.
It's been around for only a few years, but just going into the LLM and just blabbering straight into it and seeing what it tells me. So yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been experimenting with Claude a lot more recently. I
Which company is that?
Anthropic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one that I would say when I use it, I need to edit it the least. Um I think I spent 3 hours doing like a full length VSL with it um a few weeks ago, which used to take me like 15 hours. Um and I was able to get like 90% of it done with just using the AI with the prompts I have, swipe file, the information I know about the offer, the audience, and all that. So I got it up to that point, sent it to the client. They sent me the feedback, and then all I had to do was take their feedback, upload it into Claude, and give it my take on what it should do. And in about 45 seconds, it took that feedback along with the context I gave it, because I know what they actually mean and all that. And it pumped it out, and I didn't even have to edit it. I sent it back to the client, and they were happy with it, and they're running it now, right? Um, but again, like you still need to know what you're doing, right? Because sometimes a client will give you feedback, and you're like, yeah, it's wrong. like like I think Ben Settle says it'll often is like if you write copy and your client loves it, it's probably gonna bomb.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you're not writing for your client, you're writing for their audience, right? And a lot of people like that happens to me all the time, right? Like I said, like I've spent 45 minutes on an email before and sent it out and heard crickets, and then I write one that takes me 11 minutes and just hit send and it freaking crushes, right? So sometimes it's not necessarily what you think is going to work that actually works. And again, that's also the power of AI too, is that it allows you to test multiple angles. And that's probably one of my favorite things I would say I use AI for is if I have an email I know crushed in the past, but I've sent it within the last 90 days, it's that angle that I knew worked, right? So the correlation part, the lesson in the email is good, and even the call of the action is solid, but the angle is what works. So what I'll do is I'll load in an email that I know worked well and pretty much put it in ChatGPT, Claude, whatever I'm using, be like, hey, this is an email that worked well. Here's the reasons why I think it worked well. Can you break it down and let me know your thoughts according to my customer avatar? I'll upload like my whole research doc and it'll break it down for me. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And some of the things I agree with, some of the things I don't, or sometimes it'll throw an idea. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I did handle that objection a little bit different than I thought. And that's actually why it worked. But then what I ask is the story section that I used in this, what's another story that's current or in history or whatever that's technically the same angle, but different. That way I can reuse the effectiveness of this email again within the last 90 days. That way I'm not pissing off my because I know there's like a segment of like 1 to 3% of my list that reads every email because like I actually shit, I have some replies I need to reply to today. But yeah, I get like a shit ton of replies. Sometimes it's usually a lot of the same people. So I've had people where I've resent an email within like 6 months, and one of the replies was like, "Pretty sure I've read this email before." I'm like, "Fuck!" I'm like, they noticed. Shit. So now what I do is I'm like, okay, is there another story that's similar to this one? That way I can hit the same angle, right? And then I read the story, do a little bit of research on it, and then I'll write that email. But I only need to write the first third of the email because the second third, which is like the lesson, the correlation, the objection handling, the call to action, I know all that works, but it's like that entry point that needs to be different, right? And I found that's the sometimes the best way to use it is like take what's already working, give it a different twist, in like a new way, and that works well, right? Especially like effectively what I'm doing that is like doing the relead of a sales letter, right? Like that's what copy like I got into copywriting learning off Ian Stanley, which I'm sure you know who he is, right?
Mhm.
And he made a lot of his money just beating people's controls on their current sales letters. And he was doing that only rewriting 200 to 300 words of sales letters. And he was charging 50 grand to do that because he would go in, take the existing sales letter, look at what's already working with it, and go, okay, here's the twist we can do. And then he would just rewrite the headline, the lead, maybe tighten up the offer section, tell them to add in a bonus. Or sometimes it's as simple as like, hey, your price point's good, but if you literally double your price, you're only going to decrease sales volume by 30%. But because you're making double on each sale, you're actually going to make more money. And like knowing that kind of marketing math is helpful too for your clients. If you're a marketer or copywriter, is like sometimes the best thing to beat the control is like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's fatiguing. Um, but like what happens if you change the price point, right? Like sometimes increasing the price increases sales because now your positioning is better, right? A lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, he was literally just rewriting 200 to 300 words at the top, sometimes even just the headline, or saying, hey, you know what? Like the first third of the lead, like you're doing a lot of introductory stuff, but like the actual lead is like on this point. So like sometimes you're not even rewriting it or writing something new. You're just deleting the first portion of it and then making the beginning part a little bit more tantalizing, and then you're done, right? But yeah, that's what I find it the most helpful for is especially if you have a body of work or you have a client that has a body of work that's worked well in the past. Is like, why reinvent the wheel? Take what's already working, and you can use AI to help you reuse that content, and especially in the same voice too, right? Because then you're not just, hey, write an email for this brand.
Yeah. Yeah. One last thing, since we're coming up on 8 your time, 7 my time, is
Oh shit, that one
yeah.
out.
Yeah, but one last little thing is, I kinda did something like that for my low ticket product is 21 Email Swipe Vault, and I'm not here to pitch it, I'm just saying, using it
Yeah.
as an example. So the product itself, it's a swipe file of basically 21 of my best emails. Now I use specific emails to reverse engineer the frameworks, but they're like types of emails I've used multiple times over, and I actually use ChatGPT to help me, like, reverse engineer the underlying framework. Because, like, I, like, know intuitively what I'm doing when I write these emails, 'cause I kind of, like, organically develop these emails over time,
Yeah.
writing for clients, and know that they work, and kind of, like, intuitively know the psychological principles, but ChatGPT helped me, like, formalize them, like, make it explicit, like, "This is, like, what you're doing here, and here, and here," and gave me, like, a bulleted list, and then it gave me kind of, like, a templated version of that, and I still went in and I edited those to make it sound right, but
Yeah.
it helped me, like, turn the intuitive psychological underlying principles into, like, a formalized framework. So it helped me make that too. So it saved me time because I would have gotten there anyways, but it's just it would have taken me a lot longer to go through each email and be like, all right, this is the bullet point I'm going to use for this section to explain it. You know, ChatGPT just went through a lot of that for me. So it's kind of a similar thing, but yeah,
Yeah, like you need to know the endpoint,
yeah,
right? Because all ChatGPT or AI in general allows you to do is get where you're going faster. So if you don't know where you're going, you're just going to go nowhere fast.
yeah,
But if you know the exact bullseye you're headed towards, augmenting that process to get to that point is like really the power of it, right? It's like, hey, is its output 100% all the time? No. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes I can legitly say when after doing it and I get down to the and I'm editing it, I'm like, oh shit, this is actually probably better than I would have done 100% on my own because it pulled something out of context that I wouldn't have thought of. And I think this might work better. Right. And I think that's the power of it too, right? Is it's like a creation or creative partner, right? It's like, and that's I use it for a lot of personal stuff too, like even personal life, be like, hey, I'm dealing with this right now. Like I was like I you and I have joked in the past and even written emails about being a single dude and using online dating apps. And I'm not joking. I uploaded all the conversations that I had on some of these apps that led to actually getting a date. And I was like, hey, what did I do here that worked? Right. And then and then when I'm talking to somebody else, I'm just like snapshotting it and be like, here's what I'm thinking of sending it. Is this the same thing? And it's like it corrects it and it worked. I went from maybe getting a date or two every few weeks to like every weekend. And yeah, it just allows you to just do what you would have done faster that already worked, right? So yeah, didn't mean to talk about my dating life, but yeah. You can use it for a
kind of
lot
like
of useful things. What's that?
it's kind of like sales copy. So I mean,
Yeah. No,
it's kind of similar. So I mean,
yeah, your dating profile is a sales page. When you learn that
yeah,
and when you write your initial messages like subject lines, it's almost hard not to reply to you. I'll say that much, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, um, been going for about an hour, I think. So
Yeah, man. Uh, this was fun. We'll probably do a little bit more, I guess, planned next time,
yeah,
but
this was full disclosure, a little bit more
off the
introduce
cuff.
ourselves and talk about AI and copywriting for the first one, but we're gonna do a more regular kind of thing going forward, a little more planned and whatnot. So yeah,
Yeah. And if anybody who's watching, listening right now, if you have any ideas that you guys want us to break down, feel free to DM any of us, or if you're on our email list, feel free to reply to our emails or email us directly and whatnot. And we'll we'll be sure to cover those topics in depth.
yeah, cool.
All right, man.
All right, thanks guys for joining, and see
All
y'all
right.
later.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.